Application of molecular modeling and spectroscopic analysis in cultural heritage. In this presentation, we are going to describe how can molecular modeling and spectroscopy could be helpful in the study of the cultural heritage objects. Actually, these objects are subjected to some kind of factors affecting it, such as physical factors, including light, temperature, relative humidity, oxygen, chemical factors such as atmospheric oxygen and pollutants, biological factors such as bacteria and fungi and insects. Some extra factors could be such as a non-standard storage and display method beside the old or poor restoration process. As early as 1910, molecular spectroscopy started as a tool to study this cultural heritage. And then with the help of infrared spectroscopy, it could be helpful to probe the functional group belonging to both organic and inorganic compounds. And then it became by 1950 the commercial availability of the first dispersive infrared spectroscopy. But dispersive instruments revealed themselves as slow, quite limited in spectral resolution, and rather insensitive. By the 1980s, the FTIR became more flexible as the Fourier transport is added to the infrared spectroscopy. And then the analysis became more realistic, and more artistic materials could be analyzed with FTIR because of the diamond cell, the drift, and the attenuated total reflection, which is facilitating studying these artifacts as a non-destructive technique. Actually, in these days, the FTIR could be added with a microscope, forming microspectroscopy for imaging and the mapping of artifacts, which is of concern these days in the studying the cultural heritage objects. If we are going through some examples of how can FTIR be analyzed or using in the analysis of cultural heritage, we can have a look to the Islamic art, for example, as far as FTIR analysis of the organic extract from the red paste using petroleum distillates, which confirms the presence of beeswax. This study was conducted in Islamic Cairo, for example. Also, we have another study whereas FTIR was used to identify the kinds of dyes and organic stains as a new approach in this time, of course, for conservation treatment of a silk textile in Islamic Art Museum in Cairo. Another study is to apply FTIR to study the evolution of bacterial wood degradation. Another one is to apply the FTIR to study the burial environment on crocodile bones, which is come from Hawara excavation in Fayoum. Actually, FTIR is not the only technique, but X-ray fluorescence could be applied as well. But if we have a look to historical background for the X-ray fluorescence, seemed to be in 1960 was a very big, but today it's something in hand, so that it's a very powerful technique for elemental composition, which is maybe significant for many work in the metal artifacts. It is also non-destructive technique. Also, we have to go through some joint work between our group in the National Research Center and the group of Marco Ferretti in the CNR, for example. We conducted a project in the frame of the collaboration between NRC and CNR. And in this work, we apply both FTIR and the X-ray fluorescence to study Coptic icons and some metal artifacts in Italy, and of course, Coptic icons in Egypt. Based on the experimental analysis, we assigned some interaction between layers. For example, if we're going to describe what's going on in the Coptic icons, we propose two layers. For example, in this work, which is published with our colleague Marco Ferretti, we find that some metal oxide interact with amino acid, for example, and in the existence of water molecules, the total dipole moment is increased, which is increasing the reactivity and could be a reason why the Coptic icons, for example, is fragile. We study also photogrammetry as a technology for the Egyptian cultural heritage. We apply the work carried out with infrared spectroscopy and molecular modeling to study the effect of organometallic interaction and effect of salinity at and around archaeological sites in Egypt with the help of our colleague Giuseppina Gabriotti and Andrea Angelini. It was wonderful work in the frame of collaboration between Academy of Scientific Research and Technology in Egypt and CNR in Italy. Another work is conducted with the help of the funded project from the Academy of Scientific Research and Technology, which is studying the Coptic icons, because already we have some background about some molecular interaction happened in the layers of Coptic icons. We depend on collecting some samples, as indicated in the figure, from the broken Coptic icons to know the structure with the help of infrared spectroscopy and with the help of Raman spectroscopy, as indicated in this figure. Also, we consult the EDX and the X-ray fluorescence to know the elemental and organic structure of the icon. And then we have something like if you are going to describe the structure, you can make something called a model icon, as indicated in this figure. We study the true icon, and then we make a model icon which is from the same chemical constituents of the original one. And then we could study the effect of aging to know that or to put it in a condition similar to the original one, as indicated in this slide, the aging of model icon. Later on, we start to work in the Nanotechnology Research Center at the BUE, and we think how can we apply nanotechnology even as a technology applied for cultural heritage. It was really something of great importance to apply nanotechnology for the preservation of cultural heritage. And we think that, first of all, if you know the structure, you have to make a model molecule for structure, and you can have a model icon to study the effect of aging theoretically and experimentally. We think that Coptic icons fragile because of the aging, the humidity, the light, and so on, which as predicted by our model, that this class of structures could be affected with changing the physical and chemical parameters of the icons, make it interactive with the surrounding molecules so that it become fragile. But if we think in the protective layer, we go through the molecular modeling to set two metal oxide. For example, one metal oxide could prevent from water, from humidity, other metal oxide from light. And we choose to make a bimetallic method of preparation. As we can see, we have here the metal oxide, two metal oxide, or a bimetallic, both in nanoscale. We produce them as a colloid, as indicated in the bottle, and as a powder. And then we make UV visible analysis to be sure that this work as to prevent the light. And then we make an analysis for the surface with the electron microscope to have a look to the structure of this nanomaterial, bimetallic nanomaterial. And then we put it as a protective layer. We have here some kind of preservation, and we apply this work as a patent. And then we can say that we can conclude that molecular modeling as a theoretical method together with a spectroscopic method of analysis could be of concern in studying cultural heritage objects. Of course, we are willing to collaborate with our colleagues in different institutes, even in Egypt or outside Egypt, to develop another methods, or even to go through this bimetallic metals or metal oxides as a preservation layer for cultural heritage objects. We can apply this for models first, and then if we make sure that it works, we can apply for real samples and so on. Actually, thank you very much for your interest, and I'm